Welcome into MaxPreps.com. I am Zach Poff, and throughout the next few weeks, we are going to go position by position, ranking the top 10 players in the 2017 class based off of 247's composite rankings. And hey, you know what position we got to start with first? Sorry, wide receivers. We are starting with the quarterbacks, and coming in at number 10 is Opelika's Jake Bentley. The 6'4" gunslinger checks in as the number one quarterback in all of Alabama. And speaking of Alabama, Bentley just received an offer from Nick Saban earlier this week, and he has now landed 21 offers. But according to 247's Crystal Ball, they think he will be balling for South Carolina at the next level. His old man, Bobby Bentley, was one of the best high school football coaches in the country at Burns, and he is now an assistant coach under Will Muschamp at South Carolina. So that gives the Gamecocks a huge advantage at landing the number one quarterback in the state. Now, during his junior season, he led the Bulldogs to a 12-1 overall record and threw for nearly 3,000 yards and 28 touchdowns. From Alabama to Georgia is where we find number 9, and it's Greater Atlanta Christian's Davis Mills. The 6'3" QB checks in the top 10 among all 2017 recruits from the state of Georgia, according to 247's composite rankings, and Mills is coming off a legit junior campaign, throwing for nearly 3,000 yards and 27 TDs. But my man was big time on his feet, rushing for 14 scores and nearly 600 yards. And according to 247 Sports, he's already landed 27 offers, but they are penciling in Stanford as the favorites to land the 4-star quarterback. Now, I know I'd be in some trouble if someone from Texas didn't crack the list, but hey, don't worry, baby. Checking in at number 8 is Austin Westlake's Sam Ehlinger. Now, I tell you what, this kid's game is big time. The 6'1", 210-pound quarterback threw for 3,800 plus yards and 50 touchdowns, but he's just as dangerous on his feet. He balled for nearly 1,400 yards on the ground and 20 more scores. Now, it's hard not to compare him to former Westlake star Drew Brees because of his ability to make plays with his arm, but most importantly, because of his leadership abilities. Ehlinger led Westlake all the way to the 6A D1 UIL Texas State Championship game as they fell short in overtime to North Shore, but en route to the finals, they snapped Allen's 57-game winning streak in the semifinals. And hey, don't worry, Texas. He's staying close to home, and he will be suiting up for Charlie Strong and the Texas Longhorns in 2017. And hey, since we are already zoning in on Texas, let's stay put for number 7, and that is where we find Denton Guyer's Shawn Robinson. The 6'3" speedster checks in at number 7 overall, but is the number 3 dual-threat quarterback in the 2017 class, according to 247's composite rankings. And Robinson totaled over 3,000 yards in 2015, and nearly 1,700 of those came on the ground. I absolutely love this kid's game, man. He's one of the best playmakers in the country, and he is one of the most entertaining quarterbacks to watch. And just like Ehlinger, he is staying in Texas, but he isn't playing for the Longhorns. He will be balling for the TCU Horned Frogs in 2017. All right, baby, time to head out to the Aloha State. And the number 6 quarterback in the 2017 class is St. Louis's, I practice this a lot, Tua Tagovailoa. And anytime you got a QB who could ball like Tua, it's hard not to compare him to former St. Louis star Marcus Mariota. Tagovailoa checks in as the number 1 player in all of Hawaii, and he is the number 2 dual-threat QB in the class, according to 247's composite rankings. And according to 247's Crystal Ball, they think he will be playing in the Pac-12 for either USC, Oregon, or UCLA. And they have the Trojans as the early favorite right now. Time to get into the top 5, and at number 5 is the newest Georgia commit, and that is Houston County's Jake Fromm. The 6'3" gunslinger recently flipped from Alabama to Georgia earlier this month, and Bulldog fans have to be barking pretty loud after landing the number 4 pro-style quarterback in the class, according to 247's composite rankings. And Fromm, he is coming off a big-time junior season, throwing for 4,100 yards and 36 touchdowns, but there is one thing on his mind as he enters his senior campaign: bring home a state championship. From Georgia to the Desert State is where we find the number 4 quarterback in the 2017 class, and that is Bash's Ryan Kelly. The 6'3" QB has all the tools to be one of the best guys at the next level. He has excellent footwork, has a big-time arm, and my man can throw dimes with the best of them. And you know he's smart too, because where do quarterbacks go to put up huge numbers? If you guessed Oregon, go ahead and pat yourself on the back. That is where Kelly will be balling in 2017. All right, we are down to the top 3, and all 3 of these guys are the only 5-star quarterbacks in the 2017 class, according to 24/7's composite rankings. And checking in at number 3, I don't like to share my opinions, but he is my favorite high school football player in the country, and that's Bishop Gorman's Tate Martell. Now, if you watch film of when Johnny Football was at Texas A&M and then watch film of Tate at Bishop Gorman, it's almost identical. And speaking of the Aggies, that is where Tate Martell is committed to play for in 2017. And the soon-to-be senior has arguably been the most efficient player in all of high school football over the last 2 years. 5,145 yards passing, 72 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions, to go with 1,000 plus yards on the ground and 14 more scores. But the stat that he's got to be most impressed with is 30-0, because that is his record over the last 2 years at Bishop Gorman. All right, we're down to the final 2, and the number 2 QB in the 2017 class is Brownsburg's Hunter Johnson. The 6'3" gunslinger is the number 1 player in all of Indiana, and I tell you what, he might have the strongest arm in the country. The 2017 Clemson commit threw for over 2,500 yards and 31 touchdowns in 2015. And when it comes to having all of the intangibles to be a successful quarterback at the next level, Hunter Johnson has it. All right, baby. Okay, hey, can I get a drum roll, please? Coming in hot at number 1 is a very familiar name, Mr. Dylan McCaffrey. The 6'5", 200-pound quarterback from Valor Christian threw for exactly 2,800 yards last season and had 28 touchdowns to only 4 INTs. And hey, it makes sense he's a quarterback too. I mean, Ed McCaffrey was one of the most underrated wide receivers in NFL history. Christian McCaffrey had one of, if not the best season any running back has ever had in college football history. And this McCaffrey is going in a different direction, and that's slinging the rock. Last year, he helped the Eagles soar to a 5A state title, and now, everyone probably thought he was going to Stanford. His old man, Ed McCaffrey, went there. His older brother, Christian McCaffrey, went there. But, hey, change of plans, baby. He is going to Michigan, as Jim Harbaugh was able to land Dylan McCaffrey, the number 1 quarterback in the 2017 class. Well, that's all the time we have. I'm Zach Poff here on MaxPreps.com, America's source for high school sports.